So again, I'm retracing, and when I retrace, I'm retracing, at first I'm at 0% of the money I lost, I regain 0%, I regain 3%, 4%, 5%, 50%, and if I get back to that level, how much would I have regained? 100%, okay? The first point. I keep saying it, just remember that, and not just remember it, you understand why it's called 100%, okay? And why the top, the second part of your wave is 0%, okay? It seems counterintuitive, but that's what it is, and you'll understand now what we're doing next. So let's assume that we're something more like this, so that the numbers don't mess you up. So we have 100%, 0%, but you understand that the 100% represents where the wave started, the 0% is where the wave ended. It could be going up, it could be going down. Yes?
In that example, if the line were to keep going up past the 100%,
Then-
go over 100?
Sure. You can have 110% retracement. Now they tend to call those extensions. Okay? But we won't worry too much about it. Now, what does all this mean? Here's the interesting thing. The stock has gone up, okay? And now it's time to come back down. 0%, well, you hope it doesn't go to 100%. You say, hey, often enough, stocks will go, and they'll go back, up. Maybe they'll go back this way. Maybe it'll come down here before turning around. You don't know, okay? Yes?
If it goes down and then back up way over the zero, is there a new zero or does it become negative?
Oh, it's a new wave and you can analyze from this. Well, that's a good question, but here's the thing. You have all the information you need. So you're asking, I started here, I went up, I go down,
I pass it again.
I go back up, I pass it,
Yep.
okay? Maybe I go down, maybe this one does this, and then it goes back up, okay? Well, you can say, remember, you don't have the answer yet because we haven't covered it. We'll cover it in a few minutes. But when you were only here, you were looking at this way. Now, when you're here, what are you looking at? Well, you could look at this, okay? Or, even better, you say, hey, I'm looking at this. Now you're looking at the wave from here to here and so on, okay? But you don't quite know what to do with this yet, okay? We're going to show you what to do, and that way you'll understand what Project 3 is about. Okay, well, the thing that's really fascinating is this. If you look at, where does it turn around? How many of you says, I don't know, it turns around at some random point?
At
How
a
many of you
support
would say
level.
that? People, please answer my question. How many of you would think that, well, as the stock goes down, I don't know if and when it's going to turn around, so some random number, I don't know. How many of you agree with that statement or would think like that? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I mean, that's the logical thing. So for the others who did not say no, that must mean you know something. See, the 2 people who said, I don't know, which is exactly where you should be, but I might be surrounded by some super geniuses here. For the rest of you, do you think that therefore there are certain places that you know where it's going to turn around?
Yes.
Who said yes?
I said yes.
I don't want to hear from you. Yeah, he spends time in my office. We talk about these things, you see? But having heard him, Schrader, how many of you think that, no, there are specific places where things turn around? Maybe after having heard him. How many of you don't think, have no answer? You should all be raising your hand because you're not thinking. Okay, like you were saying you have no answer. Okay, good. I like that honesty. Who else said that? Who else raised their hand? Good, good, good. You know, I see someone like that at an interview who tells me, I don't know. Okay? I'm very appreciative of that because I know that you don't know. I want to see how honest you are. Can you say, yeah, I don't know? There's nothing more endearing than that because what it says is, this person knows that they don't know. You got to start there in order to say, I want to know and I want to find out. The others who don't answer nothing, it's like they really are lost. They don't know. They don't even know. They don't know. They don't have any answers. And you say to yourself, do I want to work with that person? My answer is no. So answer questions in the future. Answer, just answer. Okay, I guarantee you it can only help you. Even if your answer is, I don't know. Honesty is such a beautiful thing. There's so little of it these days, you know. So show it. Say, I don't know. And right away, my next question for you is, you raise your hand. Do you want to know? Yeah, okay, onwards. You're on a good path now. The rest of you, you weed it out. So remember, I ask a question, please try to answer. Does coming down have specific places? You said something after our conversation, so what do you say to that?
Support.
Support? What's support?
Support and resistance, R2 levels.
Doesn't answer the question, so we have to chat again.
Okay.
Because, yeah, support doesn't. Well, here's the interesting thing. There are indeed levels when the stock tends to whoop, turn around. What are these levels? What they call Fibonacci levels. Does the word Fibonacci or name Fibonacci mean anything to anybody here? Yeah, raise your hand if I can see if it does. Okay, who does not know what Fibonacci sequences are, or the Fibonacci sequence is? Okay, I mean, if you don't know, just say you don't know, it's no big deal, okay? Okay, so you know what Fibonacci sequence is. All right, well, what they have that they call Fibonacci levels, the best thing to do is to show them for you. Hold on a second. Because what you will be doing in Project 3 is identifying these levels, okay? So, let me see. Now, what is a Fibonacci level? Okay, here's a beautiful illustration. You have a stock, it's going up over here, boom, going down. Notice, by the way, that as it goes up from here to here, you could decompose that into first it went from here to here, then it went up, and then it went down. Or you can collapse it all and do that. And even within a particular, it had this down, up, down, you might find that this guy had a down, up, down, and that an up had an up, down, up. It's beautiful, the things that you can do with this. Okay? It really is. But let's take a look at this particular wave. Notice how the first part of it is the 100%, and the last part of it here is the 0%. Simple image, isn't it? Notice how now they put down, beside the 0% and the 100%, they put down a few things. Now I would say if you want to take a picture, that's a good picture to take, or I will show you what I did for the search, okay, and I don't want to lose this. The search that I used was Fibonacci levels, that's all I did, and okay, so Fibonacci levels. Once I got that, I went for images, and once I went for images, I picked this particular one here, okay? I mean, there's lots of other images that are good, but I like this one, it's very nice, I recommend it, because it also shows you your levels, it's got them framed, and these are some of the Fibonacci levels, most often used, and these are retracement levels, and if you were to go further up, past 100%, you have 127%, and so forth. Those are called extensions. Now, what's special about those? Oh my goodness. I'll have to find that video. Things like, if you look at, anybody familiar with the golden ratio? Okay, those have to do with Fibonacci numbers, okay, and kind of where, and this is not numerology or occult stuff or anything, it's mathematical stuff that they found, okay, where you find the golden ratio, that's the number. 1.618. That number is if you were to take your Fibonacci sequence and you were to take the ratio of each number in the sequence to the previous number, that ratio tends to become that number after a while, and that's it, okay? But the interesting thing is that if you do things like the Fibonacci golden ratio -1 and you square it, all these numbers end up being totally related to one another. It's something worth looking at in your spare moment. If I had done this lecture before, I would say, hey, during spring break, take like 10 minutes to go read on the golden ratio and look at the interesting relationship that exists. And there's a guy who's a mathematician, he has a video, and he shows you some truly fascinating things that geometrically that had to do with that. And you say, wow, I didn't realize that those relationships existed. Well, in any case, because kind of that, you have the following thing. You have your stock, you have your retracement levels, and here they are. By the way, they're symmetrical around 50%. Now, 50% is not really one of those Fibonacci numbers, right? But it is counted in this, okay? So you have 23.6, which is symmetrical to 76.4. If you add them up, you get 100. But basically, that means that this distance of 23% of the range, 23.6, is the same as this distance, which is 23.6% of the range. 61.8, 38.2. Don't worry about them. If you're really interested, go read about the golden ratio. Go read about Fibonacci levels. It's it's just interesting stuff. Okay? Is that your hand? Yes.
Aren't the numbers reversed? You said at the peak it should be 0%, and that's
Did I
100.
say that? Repeat that sentence for me, please. I said that. You said. I said that the peak.
On the graph,
Okay.
When-
Somebody shoot him down by saying what I said. Go ahead. He's the firing squad. Go ahead. Have no pity.
The start point of the wave is the 100%.
Did you hear what he just said?
but it's not 0% because you have not lost all of your profit.
Whoa. What's the definition? What did you just say? What represents 100%?
Your entry point.
The what?
Your entry point.
Okay, what's the entry point here?
It's where you bought.
Well,
the
that's
top.
where I bought. The first part of the wave.
Yes.
I could have sold here actually. I would have sold here.
Yes. And my question is, why is it 0% when that is not the bottom? 0% is when you lose everything.
No, that's not what we said. It's not about the. This is retracement. This is when you make back. Okay, so you start here, you lose a bunch of money.
Yep.
We're interested now in the retracement. That's where our percentage comes from. So if I lost all my money, if I'm sitting here, how much of my money did I make back? Roughly. I started here, I lost a bunch of money. I don't care what it is. I lost a bunch of money. The next day, let's say I'm still at that price. How much of my money that I lost did I just make up?
Nothing.
Huh?
Nothing.
In percent. Nothing is
Zero.
not percentage. 0%. That's why it's zero. If I keep going up, how much of my money, okay, let's say I went back up to this point here. How
50.
much of my money will I have made up?
50.
And over here,
All of it.
100%.
Yep.
That's why it's called 100%. It's
Okay.
not all the, it's how much of what you've lost or what you've made, okay, did you get back? All right. That's why I say it's really important, that thing, otherwise you don't understand. But you know what? It's good. You ask, you were a little confused, you said, wait a second, that's not what you said, and hopefully now you have it. If not, you're in the office often enough, just ask. As I said, the people who show up in the office, the people who spend a lot of time, even if they're having a difficult time, I make sure they get 100 on the project because I'm just interested in, oh my God, that person wants to know, that person wants to get it done, that person is learning. Some people, boom, they learn instantly. Wonderful. Some have more time. I prefer working with those who need more time. If you understand instantly, you get me. You know that, hey, I got it. You're good. Keep it up. For those who have difficulty, sit down, relax. We're going to get you to the point where you understand it perfectly. Don't worry. But I can't do that with you if you're not in the office. Okay? Here it is. Here's your range. And here are the different retracements. And the theory is, oh, things tend to turn around at the retracement. Like, for instance, this guy went down, went boop, 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 boop. And where did it finally decide to come back down? It's pretty much when it hit the 38% level. Now, I just show you that. How many of you just believe me if I say that? Nobody raises their hand. Okay, that's good. It's good to be skeptical. How many of you see that there would be a reason for that? You see there's a reason. Oh, I want to hear your perspective on that. So I'm going to go. Tell us why you think there's a reason why this would happen. Well, the retracement, the fact that it retraced when it hit.
What if the company goes bankrupt? What if the company is going bankrupt? There is no answer.
Oh, you talk about support too, but you know, we're gonna talk about
Go with focus.
But there's no support actually on the 38%. There's a resistance. So since a couple of people have mentioned these terms, let me explain to you very quickly what we mean by support and resistance. Okay, a stock goes down. A support is a price where the stock seems to say, I don't want to go below that price. Doop, 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 doop. I'm not going down, I'm not. That's a support. Seems to be some support here. Resistance. I don't want to go above that price. Bing, no. Bing, no. And by the way, do you see what this guy said? Bing, I don't want to go above that. What did it hit? It said, I don't want to go above. It hit the 61.8%. How many of you think, hey, it could be just random luck? How many of you think that? Yeah, and you're right. I mean, oh, maybe it's luck. I mean, you have to be skeptical, okay? If you ask no question, okay, how many of you think there's a reason for that? Okay? How many of you did not raise your hand on any of this? You know, this is pretty crazy because I know who did not raise their hand. Why you didn't raise your hand? Why didn't you answer that you didn't raise your hand? Tell me, explain that to me. I'm doing psychology here.
I'm cold.
Excuse me?
I'm cold, so.
What the heck kind of answer is that? No, seriously, I'm going to call out people, okay, for saying things that make zero sense. You cold, you can't raise your hand to educate yourself, really get to understand something absolutely cool. I'm saying that because, you know, you can feel my enthusiasm. I do research on this stuff, okay? This is the kind of stuff that can help you survive tomorrow. I'm not saying go start betting on the market, but to have a really good understanding of what's going on in the market. You're writing an application that you could later use yourself to do things with. You're writing an application that if you even mention that you're working on that at an interview, you're golden. Not because they're looking for someone who does the market, but by someone who can actually write code, who can solve actual problems, and who's doing something like that. And particularly because you've been working on this all semester, presumably, okay, you can talk about it with confidence. And by the way, that is something that shows. When you ask someone a question and they answer you in a certain way compared to in another way, you can say, that person doesn't know what they're talking about. As compared to, ooh, she knows what she's saying. She knows what she's doing, okay? So that's why I ask you a question. And that's why I always keep wondering, who the heck are these people who don't raise their hands, do nothing? And then I ask and you say, you're cold? Yeah, I will say, what the hell is that? Okay? And I'm gonna keep doing it. So now if you don't raise your hand, that's fine. But then I'm gonna ask, all the people who didn't raise your hands, raise your hand. And if you haven't raised your hand and you don't raise your hand on that second one, I will call you out, okay? At least own up to you have lack of interest or something. But I'm not gonna have people just sit around like zombies when we're trying to teach them, as I said, some really cool stuff. So that's a resistance. Then notice how it keeps going down. And right here, poof, it stops and it turns around. You can say that's a support. And they use those things historically to say, hey, you know what, the price had a support there, the stock had a support at that price. Maybe that's a price that people don't want to go below. And therefore, if I get to that price again, maybe it's a good place to buy, okay? Not necessarily totally true, but we'll learn something. And then it goes back up, and notice how we have here just a bunch of green things. I mean, the stock is being really bullish here. Up, day after day after day, the stock is opening and closing higher, opening and closing higher, opening and closing higher. By the way, this is not a stock. Because of those numbers, I can tell it's a
index.
currency. because you can trade currencies also, okay? Anyway, it goes up, 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 and then when it reached that level here, which, oh, surprise of surprise, is the 38.2% level, it decides to go down. So that's a resistance. And here, it kind of hesitated. Notice for a while how it didn't seem to want to go below that. I mean, here it went down, and it closed right at that price. And then here, there was kind of a doji, that's a type of candlestick, where it's kind of sitting right on that price. Then here, it opened right at that price, goes up. And then finally, it broke this support and went below it, okay? So now, do we understand what a support price is and what a resistance price is? It's just simple definition, okay? A support, as the word support, it's a price that the stock is supported at. At that price, seemingly the market says, maybe, hey, it's a good price, let's buy it, okay? It would be like right now, if I wanted, for you to, okay, let's say we wanted, I don't know if that works now, but you wanted to buy a Tesla. Well, as you know, if you pay attention to things, the stock price is going down, isn't it? Now, if let's say you feel strongly enough, oh no, Tesla is a good company, it's gonna go well, I want